Hello and welcome to The Good, The Bad and The Worst, a podcast where we watch movie trilogies and decide which movie looks like an avocado had sex with an older, more disgusting avocado. I'm your host, Griner, and joining me tonight...
And I am the Messiah. I am Marvel Jesus, a megalomaniacal psychotic asshole, a finger-licking dead inside pixie slab, a third-rate dive store nut milk.
And I'm Luke Morgan, and it's a big house. It's kind of strange I only ever see you two here. It's almost like the studio couldn't afford like another podcaster or something.
That's fourth wall breaking.
Fourth wall breaking for sure.
And it's foreshadowing. Foreshadowing.
The proposal. Guys, we are talking about Deadpool. Deadpool and Wolverine came out this weekend. We all went and saw it. We're going to give our thoughts on that, and we're going to review the trilogy as a whole. Do we want to talk about other... Is it appropriate for us to talk about other Marvel news? Because it was kind of a big weekend in Marvel. Do you guys want to talk about the Robert Downey Jr. thing?
It's a big talking point in my list. To be like,
so just to date us, this weekend they announced that Robert Downey Jr. is returning to the MCU as Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Somehow, I assume some multiverse variant bullshit is involved. Luke, you are probably you're the token Marvel fan amongst us. I'm sorry you've got that title, but it's fallen to you. How do you feel about the return of arguably the most important actor to ever exist in the MCU?
I'm definitely intrigued to see what they do with it, and I love Robert Downey Jr., so it does reek that they are like, oh shit, we're stumbling here. Let's go back to the well one more time and try and do this. But if they do something fun with it, then I'm like all for it. Like I don't care too much. It's funny because I've seen so much debate over the last couple of years when people were speculating who should play Doctor Doom. People being like, man, it's such a shame that Mads Mikkelsen already played that character in Doctor Strange 1 12 years ago. And here it is, and they cast Robert Downey Jr. So, it's surprising. But I am sure there is something afoot. I am sure that he will not be the real Doctor Doom that is the villain for the next series. I feel like it'll be some weird thing from, yeah.
You think they're going to do like a rug pull, like this is a variant and then real Doctor Doom?
It'll be a variant and then the real one is the real villain. But I don't know how that would go down as well.
People are not going to be happy with that.
No, I feel like if they hadn't announced it and had kind of leaked it as he was in the movie, you could get away with that. But the fact that they've announced it so far out, I feel like there would be riots in the streets if they did that.
But what if it's somebody bigger?
Who is bigger?
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. Okay. Maybe. No. But do MCU fans care about Tom Cruise? I think not.
I mean, he was the original Iron Man, so for him to be Doctor Doom and, Robert Downey Jr. to be this play on it. Well, honestly, a lot of people thought Cillian Murphy was going to be Doctor Doom.
Let's bring the whole Oppenheimer cast in.
Do it.
Hell yeah.
Get that guy that played Einstein in there. Come on, let's do it.
Yes. Einstein cameo. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amen.
I don't know.
Josh Hartnett. Let's get him in everything. Anyway, keep going.
Yes. He'd be a good Doctor Doom. Yeah, look, this whole thing. I'm going to have a bit of trouble separating this whole thing because Deadpool is impossible to separate from the metatextual conversation of Marvel. Because I think everything about Deadpool coming up to his own movie, we're not counting Origins for obvious reasons. But everything coming up to Deadpool was like, this is the first R-rated superhero movie. Marvel is pushing the letter here. They're doing all these crazy things. It was going to intentionally make jokes at its own MCU, timelines, failures, successes, yada, yada. Like, it's a big part of being like, I think there's two types of fans who enjoy Deadpool. There's the casual fans who are just like, I enjoy the dick jokes and it's funny to see the merc with the mouth, and there's the Marvel fans who are like, I want to see all my years of devoted fanboyism vindicated here. I want to see that the creators know that I know, and so that's part of the conversation. Is always like these movies are knowing they're very much index points for the whole MCU, and I think this one coming out here before Comic-Con with these big reveals, it feels the same. It's like there is so much going on here with what Marvel is sort of trying to do with its own state of play. And a lot of my problems with the movie, I don't know, like this felt kind of like these Comic-Con reveals kind of felt like the key that unlocked my feelings on the movie. Where at first I was like, I took a couple of days to be like, yeah, I think I liked it. I don't know if I loved it. I'm not sure exactly. And then this came out, I'm like, oh, I see what they're doing, and I know how I feel about it now. So I don't know.
There's a great fan recording of like from the audience, like on a phone camera, just before the reveal takes place. Like someone just says it's just like Jared Leto.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Like, could you imagine? Like, what would the reaction been? Like, probably not the same level, but
no,
it's Morbin time. But yeah, great.
Yeah, I guess he's already been in the MCU, hasn't he?
Quote unquote.
Yeah.
Quote unquote. It's such a muddy pool now.
Well, what did you think?
Yeah, look, I don't know. I feel very over Marvel. This doesn't do anything to make me feel like, oh, Marvel's back, baby. I'm in again. But at the same time, I'm kind of curious to see how the hell they do this, right? Like, do they just do it without even ever mentioning that he's Tony Stark? Do they? I saw a post about putting him in Tropic Thunder makeup. I'm here for that.
You can't do both anymore.
They're gonna do that. He could have just played Kang. Like, it just
maybe they should. That would have been that would have been a solution to the problem.
Yeah.
And I guess the other announcement was that the Russo brothers are coming back again.
This yeah.
I think I'm okay with that. Like, obviously they've done a good job. Marvel has been in good hands with them in the past, but I do wish Marvel would move on, do something different, do something crazy. I don't think we're going to get that out of Marvel, though.
Like, could you imagine if they'd announced Christopher Nolan as like the director?
I would have lost my shit for that. I would have been like, holy balls. Because he was one of the only directors who has some style that they would have gone, do you. They would have said, just you lead the way, as opposed to all the other directors that have been like, do what we want, and it's all been bad.
Yeah, there's a list. I think there's a list. If they're going to, because can you imagine the money they must have thrown at Robert Downey Jr.?
I saw a number like he stands to earn up to $80 million, and he only came back on condition that the Russos came back to direct. So they would have also been like, then you better pay us $80 million each.
Yeah,
like,
true.
The budget of these movies is going to be freaking exponential. Like, it's got to be at $250 million before anything's made, because it's just like hiring people. It's bonkers.
You can't deny, though, that you are more excited for what is coming than you were with Kang Dynasty. And
no, you're totally
playing out. Like,
you're totally right. Like, this is a two-edged sword. On one hand, I'm like this, and I will come back to this probably a lot because by all my feelings, this is one of the most cynical kind of choices made by a studio company I think I've seen in a while, where they seem to be so scared of taking any risks. They seem to be so scared of having any more missteps. They seem to be so scared of even making a choice that they just like, no, God, we have to do only the things that have worked. It reeks of such lacking personality that I'm like, this is not even a movie studio anymore. It's just like I don't know. It's
money-making business.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the most soulless corporation. And this is like BlackRock on steroids or something, you know. It just feels gross. And so to bring those back...
It's an insurance company, right? Like, it's just trying to mitigate risk everywhere. And
yes, and it's just, pure, like, there is one goal, and it's profit. It's not even about... They don't even make a product anymore. They make Marvel, which is just, a return on investment. But on the other hand, it's like, this also does work. And, like, you've got Oscar winner Robert Downey Jr. We know he's good. We know he works. We know there is a kernel of like... I don't know, there's a diamond there rather than a kernel. Like, there is something amazing there that can be done under the right conditions. So this could end up being like, oh shit, we've got Avengers Endgame again in 2026 or whatever. I'm like, that would be cool. But that also won't remove some of the stink for me. It might for others. I don't know.
I saw a post from a good friend of the show, Buddy Watson, on social media, who said it's such a shame that like they already got Robert Downey Jr. back after like they gave him his Oscar too soon. Like, you know, he did Oppenheimer, they gave him an Oscar, and he's like, okay, cool, I'm done doing different things now. I can just go back to make money.
I want the money
like
now.
A few more years, we could have had him a few more years doing different things than in Marvel, but they gave it to him too soon, and he's like, okay, mission accomplished. I'm going back.
Yeah, it is a shame. That's why I kind of get so frustrated with this. Is like, Marvel is a mammoth, an Aloth, if you will, a large galaxy-eating cloud that just consumes all things and keeps a hold of them. Which, Deadpool makes that joke about Hugh Jackman, so they also kind of know what they are, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
is it enough to address it?
I don't know. I feel like there's a timeline where that $200 million goes to pay for something crazy, right? Like pay for Christopher Nolan, pay for David Fincher, pay for something really out there.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise. Like there is other things that money could have gone towards that I would be so much more excited about, and I would feel like, okay, they're actually trying something. Here is something new. Here's something interesting. But I don't know that I'm the person they care about, right? Like, I don't know. The people in Hall H watching this from Comic-Con were cheering their head off when they revealed him. And there's probably a lot of hype there in that room where you just, you're following along or whatever. But
I wanted to ask you guys this, mostly with Deadpool and Wolverine, but I might as well ask it now. Who do they care about, though? Like, this is a question that becomes increasingly relevant, I think, where we've talked about this a lot with the failed TV shows and the whole that need to be connected to 100% of Marvel to appreciate it. Like, in episode 4 of She-Hulk, they released this pivotal bit of information. So if you want to enjoy a movie, you need to watch that. But like, the fan size is decreasing. There are more and more casual fans, I think, like us, who sort of dip in and out. We don't participate entirely, but we have some vested interest. And the core group that is like, we will consume everything, even that's got to be waning.
You
So
see
like
the opening numbers for Deadpool Wolverine?
but this is what I was saying. No, so it turned out, but I mean, I think that was full of people like my wife who enjoyed the first one, probably enjoyed the second one, and were like, yeah, this is fun, this is cool.
Yeah.
But I don't think this... And like, there's a lot of examples we have to talk about with Wolverine, Deadpool and Wolverine specifically. There are so many jokes there that are not for anybody, really. Like, I don't know who they're for, because they're not for casual fans. They're not for young fans. They're not for like the 15-year-olds who didn't grow up watching a certain, Blade or something. Like, who is the group?
Gambit. Like, I kept thinking, I'm like, man, it's such a funny thing. Like, there's this character who...
Sorry,
really,
can we spoiler for the Deadpool movies?
Yeah, like,
yeah,
really, you shouldn't know like this running joke unless you're like online, and like have been a fan, like seen the fan campaigns and stuff like that for years. Like a casual person going to see this movie, be like, oh, cool, Channing Tatum playing this dude. That's a weird accent.
I think the fan you're talking about for Deadpool specifically is a little bit different to like who they're appealing to with the Robert Downey Jr. return. Like, I do think they're two different people. But I will point out that my sister, younger sister, she's in her early 20s, squarely in Gen Z, watches a lot of TikTok, devours Marvel stuff, absolutely loves it, doesn't care about comics. She's watched some of the TV shows, I think, but movies, she's renting them on Disney Plus and messaging us and saying, hey, you can watch this on Disney Plus now. I've rented it, like, before it's widely available or whatever. Like, I know it's good in that way, but she's really into Marvel. But I wouldn't call her a nerd. But she just devours this stuff. And then I think that they get on TikTok and then somebody explains to them who Blade is. Somebody explains to them who Channing Tatum is. And there's a community built around that in some ways.
The cultural moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, I guess, the adaptation of the cultural moment where people aren't necessarily seeing the movies for the movie's sake, but it is still part of the monoculture. And so, like, on TikTok, they're then like, here is where we can discuss something that's happened.
Yeah.
But has she seen Deadpool Wolverine?
I actually haven't talked to her about this. We don't talk a lot, but she was like...
quick, don't uncover the family.
Wait, she sometimes listens to this podcast also. Like, she doesn't listen to podcasts that much, but she listened to our podcast about Spider-Man because she just really likes those Spider-Man movies and really enjoyed... And I don't think she cared about Tobey Maguire. She was 8 when that movie came out, but she still enjoyed being a part of that universe, I guess. I don't know. The monoculture.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you're right. Maybe the Deadpool audience is different to the Avengers Doomsday audience. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to know, and I just think it's not me anyway. I don't want to speak for you guys, but I think I was there for Marvel at the start. Like, Iron Man, I'm like, oh shit, they're actually doing something. This is so awesome. This is going to be like the comic books. We'll just get years and years of this, and they'll team up.
Yep.
And then I realized how tiring that is, and how out of fresh ideas they have been in the last few years. And now I'll just dip in and dip out when it's big, right? Like, I haven't seen the Marvels, but I found out the other day that Kelsey Grammer's Beast was in it. I'm like, oh shit, that's kind of cool. But I'm still not going to watch that movie.
But this is the thing, right? All of this is like these people that where they have earned their importance is why we're dipping back in and out. Like the Robert Downey Jr. is like, no, we've earned that. We grew up with Iron Man and we grew up with the MCU starting. Like, I think we're talking about it in the group chat before the podcast, but this is the problem. Like, Marvel made what it is. Marvel didn't inherit these characters. The MCU, like, Marvel was a struggling company back in the 90s.
Yes.
And like,
Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they had to do this. And then the MCU was a huge gamble. And Feige and I'm sure that I think there's someone else who was sort of in that seat, but like, they took risks and chances. RDJ was a big gamble. It paid off, and they built something by taking unknowns. There's that article of Chris Hemsworth, and they'd be like, "Oh, this unknown guy doing Thor.
Yeah, yep.
This might not work." And look what's happened. It became.
I no joke remember seeing like the first time I saw like a clip of Thor was on Sunrise in the morning. I was like sitting on like the Australian breakfast show, and they're talking about there's this young Australian heartthrob playing Thor, and I remember just being like, man, it could have been me if I was in shape. Like, damn it! I didn't know they were casting Australians. I missed my shot. You
had that stint on Home and Away, and you were good on there. Like, I don't know why you haven't had more chances like this, Luke.
I've gotten a callback.
My issue was I went to Neighbours, and that just never had the same pool as Home and Away stars did.
You can only be a pop star if you're on Neighbours. That's the thing.
A budding music career, but look. They built this right, and Chris Evans, same deal. He was a quantity, but he was not like a huge thing. He was in movies like Sunshine and Scott Pilgrim, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes on to become the like hunkiest of hunks. They made what they are, and since the decline, all they have done has been like, we are too chicken shit to do anything else. I'm like, you forgot. Like, it makes me angry because I'm like, you have forgotten who you are. It's like that cliche of, man, it's all used to be about the music. It's like, you guys used to actually take risks and make something, and you've become such a corporate mess that you just like, the only thing that works is the successes we once built. Like, what happens in 5 years after the Doomsday Saga, where one of these Avengers isn't very good because, spoiler alert, the Russos are hacks and they're not talented directors.
Oh.
What happens when these movies come out and they're like, oh, we really were expecting 10 out of 10s, and these weren't as good as Endgame because you can't do that. And then they're like, and then Robert Downey Jr. is like, fuck it, I'm retiring. What do they do then? They're going to have to rebuild. And it's going to be even harder to rebuild because everyone's going to be like, but we've had Robert Downey Jr. for 20 years now.
Man,
instead of just living with it 10 years.
That Netflix movie that the Russos did really has burned you, hasn't it?
It's cancer.
I really do feel
Was
like
it the Grey Man? Was it the Grey Man?
The Grey Man.
Yeah.
It is.
That burned you bad, didn't it, Cohen?
I would rather put my dick in a blender.
I feel like you were not so hard on the Russos until you watched.
No, not at all.
Because
you used to like them. You used to like them, man.
Yeah, because they were good when they were like directors and executive producers on TV shows, and when they were making movies in corporate structures. When they realized that they were God's gift to cinema, and they went out on the road and they say things like, "Cinemas are dead. We should be making movies for TV screens. Let's make the blandest, flattest, most poorly just void of any substance or style thriller." I'm like, okay, you guys don't have any vision. You have no style or sensibility. You guys purely just know how to take orders and work from that. Like, you know how to take orders for Feige, and you know how to frame a scene where there's 15 Avengers on screen.
All right,
bravo.
This is getting a bit heated, Conan. Like, man.
There are children who don't have food, and the Russos are getting paydays for making hot garbage.
Look, fair.
Infinity War and Endgame are pretty great.
That's the thing. Like, they work well when they're like, their hands are tied. But their hands aren't going to be tied this time. And this is what I'm saying. This is why I'm so angry, because they've had 2 movies since Endgame where they have been the hottest property, and they've been like, no, we know what to do. We're directors. And they're not. They're not. They're the kinds of people you hire when you're like, we just need someone to... They're people like Sean Levy, who made Deadpool and Wolverine, who are like, we just need you to sort of fill in the scenes between other stuff. And I'm sorry, they're not going to be the ones who are like, tell me what to do, Feige. They're going to be the ones calling the shots. I guarantee you these movies will be bland and flat. But anyway, move on before I have an aneurysm.
To your point about like where does Marvel go when they run out of road again, I think we will get to see that very soon with Star Wars, right? Like, I feel like Star Wars is in that place now where nothing they've tried has worked recently.
Yeah.
Like, Last few movies flopped. Last few TV, like the most recent TV show, has not been received well. And even the few ones before that, even the good ones like The Mandalorian, the final season was not received very well. I'm curious, like I'm very curious to see whether they keep trying to go back to the well with Star Wars, or they try something new and unique and interesting. And I feel like maybe this is where MCU ends up as well.
Like they finally did an Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show. Like that's something I've been wanting since the prequels, you know? Like I want Ewan McGregor back. They did it, and it was crap. It was not good. It was not good at all. I enjoyed the first two seasons of Mandalorian. I haven't even watched the third one, and I probably never will. Haven't watched The Acolyte. Was kind of keen on it before it came out because I was like, this could be interesting. And everything I see of it, I'm just like, oh no, I'm not dipping my toe back in there. The only thing that was great was Andor.
Yep, and that's the one that I don't think they consider a success because nobody watched it. Because I don't
lightsabers in it.
That's exactly right, because it's not selling the Star Wars nostalgia or the appeal. It's like, and that kind of
doesn't make great merchandise or toys.
Does it? Yeah, exactly. You can't sell Cassian Andor. Everybody knows what happens. Like it's a really interesting
Andy Serkis action figure. You know, they don't.
Except Luke.
You own several of them. What are you talking about?
I know, except me.
All right, sorry, I didn't mean to derail us into Star Wars world, but Disney is such a
let's talk about long legs because that's why we're out here.
Yeah. We should get in the first Deadpool movie.
Yes, let's get into the first Deadpool movie. Let's get into some stats actually. Stats. Deadpool, a 2016 movie, budget of $58 million, had a box office return of $782 million. Absolutely absurd. Was it the highest R-rated movie at the time? I think it was. Yeah, it was right up there.
It was usurped by Joker.
Yeah,
true. Critical reception of 65 on Metacritic. Deadpool 2, $110 million budget. Very similar, $785 million box office worldwide. 66 on Metacritic, so slightly higher than Deadpool 1. Deadpool and Wolverine, budget of $200 million. Has so far a box office return of $444 million after one weekend.
That is just I think it's a world record, right? Like the biggest opening box office
for an R-rated film. Yeah.
Yes, by quite some margin, I think so.
Insanity. I mean,
opening weekend was half of what them other two Deadpool films did.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what happens with third weekend in.
Yeah.
If this has long legs. I can't get it out of my head. Everyone should see long legs.
The reception for that movie so far is 56 on Metacritic.
We'll get into that.
Let's get into it. Deadpool 1. I don't have the thing up in front of me, but a wisecracking mercenary gets experimented on and becomes immortal yet hideously scarred, and sets out to track down the man who ruined his looks. Man, do you guys remember like the footage from Comic-Con about this movie that came out? Like it came out a good couple years before Deadpool. It was like the test footage. And it was basically the opening scene with the car chase and all that sort of stuff. I freaking loved that footage. I was so keen for this movie after that. I was so excited for it. And I actually really liked this movie when it came out. I really enjoyed it.
There we go.
First
half, not going to lie.
And even on this rewatch, I still had fun with it. Is it a perfect movie? No. Is it fun? In my opinion, yes.
So, that's the thing. I was really keen for this when it was first coming out. I remember the test footage as well. Had always wanted a Deadpool film. It was very different than what we had previously, and it felt like, oh, look at them making jokes about Marvel. This is like fun. It's different. On this rewatch, like as the opening scene's playing, even just like the opening credits and everything like that, at this moment where I was like, oh, am I an adult now? Like, am I going to be like, oh, this sort of humor just does not land with me? Like, it's like, oh, look, we're crazy. I'm saying different stuff that I'm not allowed to say. And I can see Conan agreeing with me.
A lot of dick jokes.
There's a lot of stuff that doesn't really land as much as it probably did 8 years ago. Unbelievably, I can't believe it's been 8 years. But I found myself enjoying it. Like I was watching it, I was just like, I'm enjoying this movie. Like this is it's fun. And like, not everything hits, not everything lands, but a lot does. Um and especially being for what it was at the time, I think it was a well needed different thing.
Conan, bring us down.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm just tired. I'm tired. I'm just gonna start leaning into. I think I've got to lean into who I am and just be the guy who just destroys the
fun.
mood.
Conan the
It's like,
Contrarian.
Exactly. It's in the name. Look, this movie when it came out, I was there with. I was still out of the MCU, but I was interested in this because I was like, oh yeah, I'm a film student. I said I know what metatextual fourth wall breaks are. This is right in my wheelhouse. And so yeah, we saw this, me and my wife, and we really enjoyed it. Like because it was something fresh and new. The problem I think with all the Deadpool movies is that they are experiences. And I'll come back to this when I bring up the comparison to Spider-Man No Way Home, which I think is natural to make. But these movies are all in the moment when you're in a packed cinema seeing something you've never seen. It's like I don't know. It's like you're seeing the Titanic sink or something. That's not very good. It's like you're seeing something real. It's like you're seeing Moses come down with 2 stone tablets and 10 commandments, and you're like, holy hell, this is going to define the future. This is giving me something to live by. Like people came out and people changed their personality based on Deadpool, and it was really exciting. But then I think as soon as you're out of it, I don't know. There's just nothing there. It is like it's heroin. It's great in the moment. Then as soon as you're out, you're like, you know what? I feel cold and itchy.
But people keep coming back for more.
And that's it. And I'm like, but I guess I'm going to keep coming back for more because I'm chasing that high of being part of something. I think these movies are all really kind of void of anything more than just the very surface level. So they're fun in the time. I enjoyed watching all of them. But as soon as they're done, I've forgotten them to the point where like I don't know what happens in any of these movies. And I'm just like, they're just, I don't know. And I think the older I get as well, like you say, Luke, I'm like, dick jokes are funny when someone makes one at first because like, oh, whoa, a dick joke. Then you can't say that. But then when it just keeps coming, you're like, oh, okay, you're not funny. You've got one shtick here.
Yeah. Do you like the acting?
Yeah, you guys enjoy it. You guys talk about how good it is. You guys.
Do you like Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool?
I think like this is kind of his best role. I'm not a Ryan Reynolds fan. This is his. I think he's really good in a suit. He's really good, like physically moving and being. I don't know how much I assume he did a lot of it, but I don't know how much is CG versus how much is like a stunt double. But whoever's in that suit, they've kind of got like the Jim Carrey magic, where you just like watching them move their body is really like just entrancing. And like his line delivery is good. He's a natural born like comedic actor. And this is really like the perfect character for him. Someone who could really like he's got softly spoken but can just keep talking and almost put you on the back foot but just charm you as well.
There was a cut line from the first movie that I believe was in one of the trailers that people always bring up where it's before a fight scene and he goes, my stunt guy's about to kick your ass.
Funny. That's good.
That's good. Should have stayed in. There's probably better humor than some of the stuff.
Meta humor is interesting. Like, I do feel like it wears very thin very quickly. Like, I've seen a lot of people make comparisons between this and Family Guy. And I think it's largely pretty apt. I think Family Guy can be a little lazier, and I think something like they try some meta humor in the third one that falls flat on purpose, and I think that's their take on meta humor. Is not super easy to write, but I also don't think it doesn't have a huge lasting impact. Like, it can be tiresome watching it for a second time or a third time. It loses that impact, right? Like, you're right. It is an experience. It's a moment in time where you're surprised. Oh, he's breaking the fourth wall. Oh, he's mentioning this thing that they never talk about. But I don't know. I just can't help but I find Ryan Reynolds very like charming and charismatic, and I feel like he's enjoying what he's doing here. Like, and by all accounts, he loves Deadpool. I don't know. There is something about Ryan Reynolds that feels, I don't know what the word is. Like, it feels a little like everything is produced. Everything that comes out about him is produced. And there was this story that came out this week about how, like, he forewent part of his salary so he could pay the writers to be on set during Deadpool 1 so that they could have, that they could write while they were shooting and stuff like this. And like everything frames him out to be a good guy. I don't have any reason to believe he's not, but he's a little too perfect, maybe.
I saw a post as well that said something along the lines of like Ryan Reynolds is like one of the most plain normal people who tries to act like he's the wacky guy, and Hugh Jackman is like the insane wacky guy who most people think is like the normal guy.
It's down to
Like
yeah,
he's Australian. I don't know.
maybe that's why they're such good friends. Yeah.
Mm.
No, I think you're right. Like Ryan Reynolds has that. He has that sort of. He's in the same class as people like Tom Cruise and like even The Rock and Schwarzenegger in terms of he's really, I think, obsessed with what his image is. Like he's obsessed with curating the identity of Ryan Reynolds. So he started off, he started off making small indie movies with like what was it, Waiting and something else.
Van Wilder, that little indie movie.
Yeah, and then he makes it, but then he makes Van Wilder as a comedy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so he was in that show. Two guys are going to a pizza place. So it's kind of like playing this comedy sort of shtick, but he's like very charming leading man. And he does Van Wilder, where he's like going to be the next Chevy Chase. But then he's also tries to be an action star with Blade Trinity, and I think he's got a very eclectic career, but he's always trying to figure out exactly what he is. Where he's dabbled in being like a true actor with things like Buried, but then he always comes back to this. And now he's got his like Wrexham stuff and The Proposal. Like he's tried a little bit of everything, and I think he doesn't quite know what he wants to be, but he's obsessed with making sure he's like the image of that. He's selling something more than him, and I think that's a big part of all of what he does on the side. All of the Deadpool stuff, where so much of the story, again, about Deadpool is like Ryan Reynolds finally getting the character he's always dreamed of playing. And like, he spun the story of Green Lantern to being like, yeah, I thought it was a real misstep on my half, but I wanted to get into the superhero realm. Like he spun it as a success rather than I was bad, maybe. Like
he spun it as this is what got Deadpool made in some stories, right?
Yeah. And I'm like, that's neither here nor there. That's what actors do. It's what movie stars do. I don't have a problem with him being artificial, but my issue with him is that he plays himself in everything. Like this character is exactly the same as his cameo in Scrubs, as his character in freaking Red Notice. Like in everything, he just plays. In Van Wilder, like Ryan Reynolds plays Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, which I think works really well in Deadpool, in my opinion. Right? Like, I don't even know if I've really seen him in much else except for those few comedic roles and the Scrubs cameo, but. Yeah, like I've never seen him try to do anything serious.
Yeah. But the movie itself, Ajax, what a villain.
Oh yeah, very memorable.
Dude from Game of Thrones, the guy from Game of Thrones before he got recast.
He's that guy, yeah.
Yeah, the guy with the long hair who's then completely different person at the start of the next
original
Dario Naharis.
Faceless Man or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. So there is stuff I like in this film. I kind of like the whole origin part. I enjoy everything up to that and how he gets the powers. I find that quite haunting, him being stuck in that thing. Like it actually makes me go, oh god, that's awful. Like it's pretty horrific. But yeah, like it's just fun. It's fun. But yeah, like I'd never had a desire to rewatch this film. And like I've watched The Eternals twice, and I'd never watched this film a second time, nor the second one. So it was interesting to go back and I enjoyed it. But yeah.
Yeah.
I think this movie suffers a little bit from its budget. Like, I think that opening action sequence is actually really good. I really quite enjoy that. Like, I like him flipping around and, like, taking a headshot and hitting 3 dudes with the one bullet.
Yes.
And, like, this messed up dude getting stuck on the sign and falling down while he's talking to Colossus. Like, I like all those moments.
First half hour, he's great.
Yeah, I like him cutting off his hand and making a reference to a book about teenage girls getting their period. Like, this is all really good, funny stuff to me, and I enjoy that. But I don't know about the origin stuff. It's okay. It feels a little. I mean, it's like a superhero story, but it feels very contrived. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. There's moments where we're like, why the hell would you continue to go through with this? There's points where he has a choice, and then when he has no choice. Yeah, I don't know.
It kind of gets undermined by the whole fact that this is probably the big tension in these movies. It's undermined by the fact that we know it's Deadpool himself knows it's a movie. We know he's going to survive. We know there's no real, there's no stakes. And this is a buzzword, I know, but like we sort of know how. Like as when he starts, we know what's going to happen. And so the origin story is a little bit like, to me, yeah, when he's like being tortured, I'm like, so he becomes Deadpool.
Yeah.
Like what am I supposed to buy into here? I think the thing that saves it is just him and Marina Baccarin.
Yes.
Really good chemistry.
I agree.
Yeah.
And she is a friggin' smoke show in this, and it just sells the whole image of like it just sells that, right? You can totally see why they are so, and like Ryan Reynolds is really good at looking at this. He's got like the kind of like buzz
dude,
thing.
I literally was like, I need to take a screenshot of that hair because that's a great hairstyle. I was like, that's
It's
really
like
cool.
I don't know if it is, but it is on Ryan Reynolds because he's really jacked and he's really handsome.
Probably wouldn't look the same on me. I'm just going to be honest. It's like,
Yeah, like no, I give it a try.
I appreciate it, but we'll see.
But like their chemistry is just palpable. It's like, yeah, these guys are having fun, and I don't know how Blake Lively can watch this and not be like, you guys were just fucking on the side, weren't you? Because you feel it. Like it's just like, yeah, these guys were. And so that kind of works in that part because you just get invested in their natural, like, fun relationship. But at the same time, you like say it is really contrived and just this movie's pacing is weird as well because the whole movie is basically a flashback.
Yep.
It's essentially like, hey, here's how I met this, but here's the backstory. It's like 45 minutes. And then it's like, all right, let's cut back to B just killing everybody at the end.
Again, I think there's some weird budget stuff because even the final fight is pretty boring. Like it's pretty anticlimactic. Not a lot. I can't even remember it, to be honest. I think I fell asleep during this rewatch, to be honest. But like it just, I don't know. I think there's some budget problems. It definitely has some pacing problems. But I agree. For me, like it's carried by. I enjoy watching Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. I find him charismatic. I find him charming, and I agree. Marina Baccarin and him have great chemistry. TJ Miller's fun while he was he was the hot thing in Hollywood for about 5 minutes there, and then he got cancelled.
I was about to say this movie has two people who've been cancelled: Gina Carano and TJ Miller.
Yes,
I forgot she was in it, and then I was like, boy, they should have made references about that. Anyway,
yeah, you're right. There's references
because some people have been cancelled.
There's references they could make that they choose not to in follow-up films, but. If Deadpool was as edgy as he wants us to think he is.
There was no mention of Kang in the third one.
Yep.
No.
Like, come on, Deadpool, you're the one to do it. Come on.
And that's a good point. I do want to make that before I forget because I don't know if it'll come up anywhere. Rewatching this and watching them all sort of pretty close together, you start to see that these movies aren't the edgelord vehicles that you think they are, and like they want to believe they are, and they market it as of like we are no holds barred. We'll drop the C-bomb.
But Disney still chose what was said in these.
Disney, you can tell there is still a fine tooth comb going over all these. Like, that's a bit too much.
No,
like, and that's kind of frustrating in a movie that is just like, I will talk anything. I'll talk shit, but don't make me actually say anything back because I don't want to get anyone really in trouble. It's like, fuck off. But
yeah.
We'll
get around this by making jokes about cocaine, right? Like, oh, he won't let us do cocaine. And that's fun. That's fun. Don't get me wrong, but it's also that's like so PG almost, right? Like, there's almost no substance to it. He's just making up weird words for white powder.
Yeah.
After you've seen that trailer in every movie preview for the last 2 months, it's just
it's lost its impact.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind his blind roommate. She's kind of fun. I really like when he has the baby hand. I think that's fun.
That is pretty funny.
Rubbing her face with it is good. I went to have that as my background, but his face was visible, and it was just too grotesque to have on my screen for the whole 5 minutes. He is haunting without his mask. I appreciate that he's. I don't know. There's something. People are always frustrated when superheroes want to have their mask off all the time, right? You got to see my face. And I feel like, again, Ryan Reynolds just commits to this. He wears the mask a lot of the movie, and when he's not wearing it, he's horribly disfigured. And props to him for just going through with it.
That's true. Yeah, that is a good point. He's like, yeah, kudos to him for being like, this isn't about me as much as it is about the character Deadpool. Yeah. And I mean, he seeps through that with the dialogue, but
absolutely.
Yeah. You're right. Like there's never he's not just like got a few scars. He's like, oh, I'm a monster. It's like, no, he's a mess.
Yeah, he's kind of grotesque.
It's a good choice. Yep.
Let's move on to Deadpool 2. Has anyone got anything pressing to say about Deadpool 1. To me, they flow into each other a little bit, except for a few moments, which I guess we'll get into.
Yeah.
Deadpool 2, 2018. I don't have the thing up again. He's back. And here's Cable. Foul-mouthed mutant mercenary Wade, a.k.a. Deadpool, assembles a team of fellow mutant rogues to protect a young boy with abilities from the brutal time-traveling cyborg Cable.
Remember when Julian Dennison was a thing?
I know. I had the same thought. I'm like, this kid was hot as in Hollywood, just like TJ Miller, actually, for a moment there. Although he hasn't been cancelled as far as I know. He's just not that... I don't know. No. Hunt for the Wilder People will forever be one of my favourite movies. I really love that movie. But he's okay in this.
No, he's not cancelled. It's just like with a lot of people, they're like, he's not the ultimate actor we thought he was, and so he's doing small roles now, as a lot of these.
Yeah, I don't think he's not a box office draw, right? Like,
no. But
yeah. I feel like he's maybe the weakest part of this film, though. Like, I remember from my memory of it being like, I didn't like the kid, and watching this again, I was just like, I don't like the kid. The whole like, damn, it feels good to be a gangster. It feels like a kid acting, and I just I don't know.
I think I'm just looking at the timeline now. I don't know. Do you think this was riffing a lot on Thor Ragnarok's energy? Because part of Thor Ragnarok's sort of appeal, right, was the rock guy, whatever his name is.
Korg.
When did Ragnarok come out?
Korg. Yeah, Korg was 17, and this was 18.
Ooh, interesting.
New Zealand accent equals funny? Is that what you're saying?
So that's what I'm wondering. I'm truly wondering because Thor Love and Thunder, I remember like everyone was like, Korg is the best. Sorry, not Thor Love and Thunder, Thor Ragnarok. Everyone's like, Korg is the best. How funny is this like big Kiwi guy?
He was hot and like,
Yep. So I do wonder if part of that was this, like the casting was based on, he was both...
Different casting choice. It's a different casting choice.
It is, but like you say, a lot of his lines are just like, he just says things in a New Zealand accent, and that's sort of the joke.
Yeah.
And if you're into that, which I think everybody was after Ragnarok, it's like maybe it worked in the time. But again, that dates this movie. His whole performance really dates this movie. I was like, holy shit. This is around that era, like Hunt for the Wilder People's 2016. I'm like, this is when New Zealand was taking over the box office.
Like, just think if this was like a young Tom Cruise or something playing this kid. Like, I feel like it would hold up a bit more, you know?
Yeah.
Like, yes. Even if it was an old Tom Cruise. Even if it was Tom Cruise right now, being like, I'm 15, I'd be like, yeah, you actually do kind of look 15. And you're such a good actor.
I need to save this kid, right? And I was like, I need to save this kid. And Tom Cruise is just like, no!
What if it was Danny DeVito? What if it was Donnie DeVito playing as a kid? And being like, I'm only 12 years old.
I've got a horrible condition.
It's my power.
Call it the Benjamin Button.
They really turn the cameos up to 11 in this movie. Obviously, the Brad Pitt cameo is pretty freaking awesome, I think.
One of the best.
But I had forgotten that Terry Crews was in it. I had forgotten that, what's his face, Skarsgård was in it.
Skarsgård.
Same.
Pete.
Yeah.
Lesser known Lewis Tan's in it, Yeah, no, I am. Those cameos, like, that's the standout moment of the movie. Just that scene.
The X-Force scene.
That scene is really funny.
And even the build-up to it's pretty good, where TJ Miller's like, "Oh, there's a small weather warning. We should be careful," and then it just like is the total collapse of the whole team.
That's great. No, like honestly, I remember coming out of it and being like, "Oh, the X-Force scene was so funny." You know, like that's the one scene I feel like I remembered more than anything.
Yeah.
And I think it's still held up. It was just like, "Oh, okay, here we go. This is the best part." Even like at the start when I remember first watching it, just being like, "Oh, Vanish is not there. There's nobody there." The joke is that they think there's an invisible person there, and there wouldn't be one, you know. And then when you actually see like him jumping off the plane with the thing, I was like, "Oh, this is great." Yeah, Brad Pitt, one of the best cameos ever. Boom, he's done.
It was barely for a second. Yeah.
Actually, we'll rank about it, but I actually think this one. I think I enjoy this one more, and I don't really know why. I think David Leitch just is a bit of a better. I don't know. Just better director, I guess.
Well, all these movies kind of just have directors for hire, right? I guess he's probably the standout one.
Like you're right,
Train and stuff.
Yeah, they're all for hire jobs, but I don't know. This one feels like it has a little bit more of a flow. Like the first one, like say, feels super disjointed, and just like they're just putting 4 building blocks together and be like, that's it. This one feels a little bit less like it was as badly cut up. But
I wonder if like the director is where Brad Pitt came from. Then, if he did Bullet Train,
I think it is. I think
he's just
yeah,
like,
because
hey,
they're
you can film this one scene, please. It'll be funny.
According to Ryan Reynolds, the story is he went to the studio and I got Brad Pitt for the movie, and then the joke is that it was only in there for a second, but who knows?
Ryan Reynolds, what a joker!
I know. How did you guys feel about Josh Brolin? It's very strange that he is both Thanos and Cable. Obviously, they make jokes about it, which good, they should. Still a bit strange.
No, it's fine because
Thanos is
he's not purple.
That's right.
Yeah. I love Josh Brolin, and the character design of Cable is badass. I think he looks really cool. Like I remember, again, I'm really influenced by like haircuts in these movies. I remember after coming out of being like, man, I want the Cable hair. You know,
Cable
just
hair,
like that's
dude.
what I need to do. And like wait till I go grey, and then I'll start doing it like that. He looks like a badass.
He does.
But yeah, no, I enjoy this. The humor that I love in this that still got me all these years later on the second rewatch was just Deadpool like referring that he's racist, that Cable's racist. It's just like your intolerance will not stand. Like, this is unacceptable. I hope with time you'll start to not judge people by the color of their skin. And Cable's just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Cable's reactions to those jokes are a bit, I don't know, they're a bit strange.
Do you find it disjointing? Like, because Cable is playing it straight, right?
Yep.
Josh Brolin is playing an actual Marvel movie. Whereas
I think that makes it work. I like it. You need a straight guy for that.
No, you do. Like a straight man, that dynamic works, but I don't know if he's playing the straight man because I don't think he knows he's in a comedy. I think he's like thinks, and I think he's acting as if he's in a serious movie.
If it was a serious movie, he wouldn't put the chapstick on like that.
No,
well, but that's the thing. You get those moments where I think that's what breaks it, right? Like that moment is super strange.
Yeah.
Like joking about his fanny pack all the time. Cool. Okay, that's fine. But then, that moment where he puts on the chapstick, and then just how seriously he takes Deadpool. Like when they try to be heartfelt later on when Deadpool dies, right? Like, like he goes back and saves him. Why?
Yeah,
it doesn't really make sense.
This thing, I think these movies are better as just pure comedies. I think they're actually. I think they would be better rather than because the action, honestly, aside from a handful of moments, is pretty forgettable. IMO. I just think that would be better if it's just comedies, like just buddy comedies. And if he was the straight guy to Deadpool, and they both knew they were in a comedy, I think it'd be a lot more engaging than like trying to still be, because these are still trying to be Marvel movies at the end of the day. They're still trying to have stories with heartfelt moments and stakes and make you care. But it's like, you can't suspend that disbelief when every 2 minutes Deadpool is just being like, I'm gonna have sex with this thing. Haha. Isn't this movie funny that we're watching? It's like
it's even funny when you describe it, No, I agree. I think I always remember watching The Simpsons, and they always have this joke about how like you can have a heartfelt moment, but it's got to snap back. Like it's got to be something funny immediately afterwards. And I don't think this understands that logic. I don't think it really tries to have these genuine heartfelt moments, and I don't think they work very well. They don't work for me. No,
I agree.
Do you like Domino?
I do. I actually really enjoy her powers too. I think they're a lot of fun. Like, I'm just lucky, and then just seeing how that unfolds is like, it's cool. I enjoy it.
Yeah, the gun jamming, just like little simple stuff. It's like, it's fun.
Yeah, Zazie Beetz is really good.
Yes,
I always enjoy her and stuff. I really enjoy the constant references to dubstep in this. Actually, it's always bringing up dubstep. I don't know. And then when they play it, I'm like, dubstep was cool, but you also feel really ashamed. You feel really bad for saying that.
A bit of shame there.
They did tap into something in the zeitgeist.
They did.
I think this movie has too many characters. Because what's his Juggernaut's in there too? But who's thought about
different Juggernaut? Yeah, that's right. He's like
Juggernaut.
Pure CGI Juggernaut, which is
voiced by Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes. There's a few moments where it's like, oh, that's Ryan Reynolds, of course. I don't know. It felt weird. Big CGI battle. It makes the joke about him and Colossus fighting.
Yeah, you're right.
Not great. The CGI is not great.
No, it's not.
And it's funny to watch back, and then like he says that, and then it's like, oh yeah, this doesn't look good.
But yeah, I guess like you said, I want to say budget restrictions. It's like $110 million is not a small budget, but for a movie of this, it kind of is, I guess.
For a movie that, like, I don't know, if you think about any of the other Marvel movies' budget, that's pretty well on the low side, especially for the amount of CGI they try to do. Having Juggernaut as a CGI only character, Colossus as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys like Colossus?
He's the straight man that works.
I agree. He's a straight man who knows he's in a comedy. I think
Yeah. All the delivery, all of his sensibilities are like, they're on the exact same wavelength. So I like him. He's always good.
And even in my opinion, even Negasonic Teenage Warhead is also kind of a straight man in some ways too. And she works also. I think both the X-Men work.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Yeah. There's a little cameo with all the other X-Men characters in one room.
Yeah, it's cute.
Close the door.
Apparently that was taken from Dark Phoenix. Like, there was a cutscene from that, which is, I don't know, just funny. Remember that movie?
We'll get to those movies one day.
I haven't watched it.
Didn't exist. Never happened.
Yeah. Don't you guys have a heap of reverence for the Fox X-Men movies?
Oh, we'll talk about that one.
We are about to, yeah. We want to move on to Deadpool and Wolverine?
Yeah.
All right. The reason we're all here, Deadpool is offered a place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe by the Time Variance Authority, but instead recruits a variant of Wolverine to save his universe from extinction.
Oh, man.
What did you guys think?
I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed this movie. I had a lot of fun with it. I was surprised by, like, they open with him literally digging up the grave of Logan and fighting off a bunch of dudes with his skull and bones, and I don't know. Yeah. It was fun. I think Marvel has been playing on nostalgia for a long time, and it to varying degrees of success, and I think here it works in my opinion. I think Deadpool is the right character to bring back people like Elektra and Blade and even characters that never even existed, like Gambit.
But never were. Maybe he was born there.
Yeah.
I think the meta humor works really well in that.
Luke, what do you think?
So, I had a lot of fun. Like Griner said, I was really surprised they just went all in on the Logan ending and just picked that up and went with it. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about it, being such a big Logan fanboy. But I had a lot of fun in this movie. There's a part of me who wants to go watch it again. And yeah, like, I don't. The one thing that I'll talk about with it, though, that I'm interested in your opinion, like, I feel like I got so much spoiled for me with this movie from like the silliest source, Conan. So, Inverell Cinema's website spoiled basically every cameo because it was listed as the cast. It had like the cast, and it was like Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, Channing Tatum, Wesley Snipes, Jennifer Garner, and I was like, I quickly got out of the page. I was like, what did I just read? I was like, why is, and this was a week before release. Oh, wow. And I was like, what did I just read? That's so weird. Didn't try to forget about it. You know how you just go, didn't see that. Nah, that's
but you saw it. It was
some intern messed that up. So I came in being like, oh man, you watched Gambit's going to be there, Elektra, Blade's going to show up. The only one that got me completely by surprise was Cavill. Henry Cavill.
Yeah, the Cavill room.
I obviously didn't read that far down the casting list. I'm sure he would have been on there. And then after the movie, as if I was going crazy, I tried to show Grind. I was like, yeah, look at this. And it was fixed on their website. It was just like the people that were announced. And I was like, they got my
I think
complaint.
you had a moment, Luke. I think you I don't know.
You projected.
Incepted that or something, yeah.
Of course seen it. But yeah, so the Cavill one was a really cool surprise. Seeing him as Wolverine. I'll be down for it.
Conan, were you just bored throughout all of this? Is that like where we're headed here?
Conan enjoyed it. No, Conan enjoyed it. Conan had fun.
Everyone just step back for a minute. All right, I'm not immune to.
Sorry, Luke. I didn't mean to interrupt you keep going.
Was it my eyes?
Yes, you look like you're falling asleep at Luke's description of all the fun things that happened.
Sorry. Last thing I'll say is my main thought. I went into this thinking I kind of had low expectations because we'd all seen critically it wasn't doing as well as the others. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, it just doesn't hit the same." I walked out of that movie being like, "Do people not like having fun anymore?" Like that was just fun. Like that was way funner than the first two, I thought. But
of all the movies, this movie has the biggest disparity between audience reception and critical reception.
Yeah.
Like IMDb, it is rated the highest of the three, but it's rated the lowest on Metacritic.
Yep.
So your thoughts, Ken?
Yeah, where do I start? That is a really interesting point, the audience score versus critic score, because what critics are wanting, and I think what I am wanting aligns more with them than with audiences, is like why this movie exists. What are they doing here? Rather than just taking the product at face value. Now, maybe that's the wrong way to approach it. I don't think it is, because I don't like the argument of it's just fun, just have fun with it, because if that's the case, why are we even talking about it? Like, what's the point of talking about anything that's just, it was fun? It's like, no. It's any sort of artistic pursuit should have more to it than that. If this is as important as it thinks it is, which it fucking thinks it is, there needs to be more to it than just come and have a blast. It's like, I don't think that's a defense at all to make for it. That being said, like, I didn't know anything about this movie coming in. I avoided spoilers, which is funny because on IMDb all the characters are listed, so I'm like, thank God I didn't check that. But I saw this on a Saturday morning at 10 a.m. So everyone else in the cinema was people a bit older than me, or people my age, but on their own seeing it. And it was eerie how flat this movie fell. Really? I had to stifle my exclamations when Blade appeared. I had to stifle my. I laughed when little Wolverine came on screen. No one else did.
Yeah. There was comic book accurate Wolverine.
Yeah. There was a few very meta jokes that I laughed at that no one else cared for. But then, like, when Blade comes on, I was like, "Holy shit!" And no one made a noise. Electra same deal. No one made a noise, but that had already spoiled. But then when Gambit came on, I was actively going, "Holy shit!" But then I had to keep stopping and being like, "Does no one else know this?" And this is what exploded my brain, because I'm like, this is the weirdest, deepest meta reference that I don't know who it's, because it's for people like us who, unless we had a podcast, I wouldn't be seeing this in the movies. I think a lot of people won't see this in the cinema because they'll be like, I'm over the MCU. I want to watch this at home, maybe. I don't have to pay money for it. It's just so weird. I'm like, I don't know if anyone in the cinema I saw it with got or appreciated any of sort of the big swings that it was making.
Like, I feel like we had the opposite.
It was pretty packed.
It's pretty packed. Like, it was as packed as I've seen our cinema since Spider-Man, probably.
Yeah. On my way home.
And people were into it. People were gasping and guffawing and cheering. And I mean, there was people in the back row being morons and bored and making strange noises. That annoyed the crap out of me. But
get this, Conan. I thought of you straight away because there's a dude behind us, and you know, Inverell cinema is very different than the cinema you guys go to. So there were two trailers beforehand, so about 6 minutes up, and he was like, "Oh my god, did I pay all this fucking money just to watch other movies? This is ridiculous. It was meant to start at 6:40 and it's 6:48." And I was like, "Man, have you been to a city cinema, boy? That's like an hour of previews."
They also left during the third act, so I don't know what they were. I don't know why they were even there. Yeah, they were not there when we left. Like, they left long before the credits even appeared.
Yeah,
it was strange. And yes, that reaction was like, have you ever been to the movies before? It did start late because I don't think they expected the line to be out the door at 6:40. But anyway, it was packed.
The biggest I've seen for a long time.
And I think that directly makes a difference. Like, that audience experience. If everyone's having, like we talk this, if you see a comedy and everyone's having fun, you'll love it. If you see a comedy and no one's laughing, you don't love it.
100%.
And I still enjoyed this. I still enjoyed the experience of it, but it definitely made me feel weird where I'm like, I couldn't then stop thinking about it. I'm like, why does nobody else love seeing Channing Tatum as Gambit? But I was like, oh wait, because they probably haven't been on the internet being like following this stuff for 15 years.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, and nor should they. Nor should a movie be like, don't worry, you people, I've got you. Like, because then this is servicing just those people. And like the average moviegoer who's going to come in and see it is going to be like, why am I seeing Channing Tatum do a really bad accent? Like,
But
what's
the audience score is really high.
Yeah, like because the people on those forums and on IMDb are the people who like know this shit. The people who have live and breathe this same sort of like meta lore around it and the industry stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I do think there is that lore around it, right? Like, I guarantee there's TikTok videos out there explaining why Channing Tatum is doing a bad voice. And the people who are into MCU but aren't us and have been following it forever are lapping that shit up. They're part of the cultural monoculture or whatever you want to call it, however you want to scientifically describe it. But I think being able to talk about a movie and find out more about it after the fact makes people like it more. You feel like you're part of the community around it, and I think that's part of what's working here too. And I suspect more people know about Channing Tatum as Gambit than we're giving credit for here.
No, hard disagree.
I don't know.
Who the hell knows that unless you've been like, God, I can't wait for them to make a Gambit movie because that obscure character from the 90s cartoon. No one.
Well, it's not just from the cartoon.
Don't know Gambit though.
Yeah, I didn't know. I don't think
he was in that one. He was actually in that one movie.
That X-Men one, yeah.
Oh, Origin, the bad one. Whereas was it Taylor
the really bad one? Yeah, look, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too chronically online, and I assume that what I see is what everybody else sees. But I mean, this movie does it in spades, though. Like they put him in the yellow suit with the mask on. They do all the things that the true fans want, but I don't know who they are. Maybe it's me because I felt. I mean, actually, I didn't really like the mask on him, but everything else I was there for.
There were stories of people crying, like grown men crying when they saw the mask.
Too much.
Like,
no.
And I'm like, this is cult shit.
No, okay, no, not me. Do you know what did catch me by surprise though as well, and I loved it. It was Johnny Torch when he's like flame on. Yeah. I was like, oh my
baller! Like that was that was the first one that I was like, holy shit, they got him back. I never thought this would happen, and nobody reacted. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know who any of these people are.
It's so smart too because everybody thinks it's Captain America, and then flame on. It's like, oh, of course.
Yes. It's like a lot of the meta jokes in this really work. I didn't write any of them down, but I do remember watching them. I'm like, that's funny. And then like another one hits. I'm like, oh, that's really clever. Like there was a lot of stuff in it that, again, the humor worked in this movie. And so seeing it, and like my wife was having fun, and we're just like, yeah, this is really like this movie works when it's just a comedy, I think. But it all falls apart with the narrative. The entire narrative falls apart, and the use of cameos, because beyond just cameo appearances, again, there's like a cynicism to them where it's like they literally bring back Blade and Elektra and create Channing Tatum as Gambit and Daphne Keane, X-23, to do nothing. They do nothing. There's one fight scene that's fine, but I'm like, there is no like.
But it felt like a way to be like, we've addressed them. That's where they are. That's over.
The way I saw this described is like this is the send off to the Fox MCU, right? Like
it is, but especially the credits.
And the credits ties that together, I think, in my opinion. Like yeah,
like the credits makes that overt. It literally has good riddance, time of your life.
Oh, of course, I know.
Yeah.
So good.
It is being like, hey, like we are emotional about saying goodbye, but then at the same time, watching it, I'm like, why the fuck are we emotional about this? No one cared about Elektra. Literally nobody. Like I don't know. Like I'm saying, brilliant. Like
there was some teenage boys that cared about Elektra in 2008 or whatever year it was.
You know,
maybe.
I said this to Griner. I feel like I'm one of the only fans of the original Daredevil.
Yes, you are.
Like,
no.
Oh man,
I'm there with.
So cool.
I like every version of Daredevil. I'm there with you, Luke. It wasn't as good as the TV show, but I'm there with you.
I did like even like. You know, the little Easter egg thing of them being like, "Oh, we're sorry, we lost Daredevil." Like because Ben Affleck's Daredevil, and Jennifer Garner's like, "Eh." Like, oh well, doesn't matter.
Yeah, again, clever. Look, so here's something that's really I'm brushing up against, right? So compare this to No Way Home, where they did the exact same trick. They brought back the Spider-Mans.
Yep.
The crowds went wild. I still remember seeing that with a packed audience, and people lost their shit. And I was right there with them, like, oh my god. That works in that movie because it then does something with those characters, right? It actually creates story arcs. It actually gives them a reason to be in there, and it fulfills both their textual and metatextual. Andrew Garfield saves MJ, and he saves the girl that he never could in his own universe, and he gets the ending he gets the ending he deserved. In Deadpool and Wolverine, there is no ending to give or deserve. Elektra doesn't deserve an ending because she was in a bad movie and she was a side character anyway. Blade doesn't get an ending. He just gets killed. Gambit appears and is killed as well. Like, there's nothing done with them. There is no, like, let's follow them. Let's have a road journey where they have an arc. It's literally like, have these characters appear and kill them off to conclude, whatever that means. It's like, that's not a conclusion saying they died on the way to their home planet. And that's essentially what this is.
Yeah.
Did you not have fun watching it, Lou?
No, I did. This is my problem, though. I had fun.
Yeah.
And as soon as I left the cinema, I'm like, oh, I feel a bit dirty. And I don't really remember what happened. And like literally that afternoon, I'm like, they go to a void, and there's a couple of big fights, and there's a shit ton of cameos. But I'm like, nothing sticks with me because it's fun in the moment, and that is okay. People can do that. That's not a reason. I'm not being like, don't come at me with let people enjoy what they want, because that is not a defense.
Is it contextually not make sense though in this world where this is the void? This is shit that was abandoned. If we were ever going to see Gambit, this is your time, and it's fun to just experience and be like, this is all the comic shit that we've forgotten about in the MCU, and we're never going to come back. They weren't going to be brought back again, these people as these characters. This is the thing. It's in the abandoned zone in the pit of nowhere in the universe.
Yeah, I mean, you can make the argument that their arc is to have one final battle that allows the characters we're supposed to care about, Deadpool and Wolverine, to get away. I don't know whether you agree with that or not. And I guess the thing is they do the thing you're talking about with Wolverine, who is the one character who does not need another send-off, right? Like, he had probably the best send-off of any superhero has ever had.
Yeah.
I get the problem, and I agree. It's still fun, and maybe I'm more willing to look past that than you are.
Yeah, like, I think I'm just on the other side. I'm like, this movie isn't for me, even though it is for me. Like, I am there being like, fucking bring Gambit back. He was my favorite of all time. I'm like, I want to see the Gambit movie. So when that happens, I was genuinely gasping. And like I said, that's
what you're bitter. You're bitter that he's gone already.
No, I mean, like,
just was there for 10 minutes.
I'd made peace with it long ago. But I was like, I don't know.
The 90s cartoon will always be there for you. Don't worry.
Exactly. I can always hold up like the picture of Wolverine holding Jean Grey, you know,
which they recreated with Jackman,
which is great, which is fun. But that, to sort of give that and be like, yeah, we know you're here, we know you're a fan, we know you always wanted this, but then be like, but it's also not happening. Like, it's a little bit insulting. And I'm not saying this to be like, I'm not trying to clutch at my pearls, but I'm like, to give me this, again, with No Way Home, you gave me the Spider-Mans we grew up and loved. You made a story with them. You made an emotional moment. You actually made something matter there. And I'm like, oh, there was a reason to revisit these Spider-Men and can make them all back together. There is no reason for this except as a meta commentary on We're Abandoning You, which I guess does work, you're right. But Deadpool wants to have its cake and eat it too, where it wants to be like, I'm funny and irreverent and I'm just making jokes at all this stuff. But then it's also like, nah, but really feel something, please, because we matter. Like, the whole narrative in this movie, I want to join the Avengers, and so he doesn't join the Avengers, so his girlfriend breaks up with him.
Yeah, I know. And it was so jarring to me, having watched Deadpool 2, like, literally the night before. They're like, they could not be more in love. They want to have kids, where I'm like, how the hell does this cancer-ridden sack of... This cancer-ridden scrotum have a kid? Like, this doesn't work. But anyway, fine, I'll look past that. Like, they could not be more in love. That whole thing is about, you know, him seeing her in the, you know, in his afterlife or whatever it is. You know, he's having those moments, and then he brings her back to life at the end. And then literally straight at the start of this movie, she's like, "Yeah, I'm not having much vaginal sex lately," and she's nowhere to be found. Basically, like. Yeah. It's very jarring, and it is. It does feel like have your cake and eat it too. We need another conflict for this character. And we can't get her back because she's not that interested in doing this anymore. So we've only got short scenes with her.
That's what it felt like. It more felt like she's not going to be part moving forward. Let's write her off in a weird way.
Yeah.
And like, listen, you could. Sorry, yeah, continue.
Like, yeah, I don't. Here's the thing, though. They gave us John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, and killed him off in 2 minutes, and then that's it. He's not actually cast, you know,
Mm.
as that character that people wanted him for as ages. This isn't the first time they've done this, but I think it was done better here. You know,
It was, but it's still not good. Like it's still.
you enjoyed it though. That's the
But
thing,
yeah,
though. You enjoyed it.
Yes,
That's what it's Deadpool and Wolverine.
Heroin addicts enjoy heroin. Stop campaigning for heroin. Like,
listen to the start of the podcast. You were the one campaigning.
Fentanyl's not a good thing. Fentanyl's destroying our cities. But guess who loves fentanyl? Fentanyl addicts.
Are you one? You said you enjoyed it.
I feel like it after watching these movies. Like I was saying, I feel afterwards I just feel hollow.
I get that. I had a pang of sadness where I was like, oh man, like they really are they're gone now. Like bye-bye.
Well, the other thing is, are they, right? Like, this whole movie ends with him being like, oh, can you rescue my friends from the void? And then X-23 appears, so obviously something happened with the rest of them. Like, are they trying to be like, oh, maybe they'll be back again?
I think Logan doesn't actually end. He's like, oh, I might stick around, and he's having parties with them at the end. I'm like, you won't even end. Like, it's so fucking spineless because they're like, you can't even send off. You can have an emotional little like, here's some footage from the first, the interview with Hugh Jackman, but we're still not going to say goodbye to anyone or anything because we are so scared to ever close a door.
But it's okay because Deadpool made a meta joke about it. He said you'll be here till you die, and so it's okay to have him there till you die. No, I agree. It totally felt spineless. Like he didn't die in this one. He didn't go back to his old world. He didn't even leave at the end. Like he appears at the freaking party. Yeah, felt spineless. I agree. Is a good description for it.
I will say though, I really enjoyed the mask. Like seeing him in the costume with the mask, shredded. I was like, yes, I'm about this. This is so cool. Hugh Jackman acts his ass off in this movie. Like he is a beast in like everything. But the car scene when he's just letting Deadpool have it, I was like, damn, this is like this is great.
I was in the toilet for that.
Oh, were you really?
Because I knew I was like, this is just going to be a fight scene. This is where I can skip it. And
there's a moment before the fight scene.
Emotional thing.
People are like, this is Prisoners again. Like he just has a big outburst.
Went into it. Just yelling at his face, and Deadpool has no wisecrack afterwards. He's just silent, and he's just like, oh, fuck.
Maybe that's why I didn't like it. It's the one pivotal scene.
Yeah, you missed the emotion.
But again, to me, like, Wolverine is not the character that we don't need to send Wolverine off again. We don't need him to have another emotional outburst. We had the best one already. This is unnecessary.
Can you imagine if you were in the toilet a bit longer and you come in and just Gambit's there? And you just like a blade, and you're just like, what the fuck did I miss?
That would have been like
because that's a couple minutes later, man. That's a couple minutes.
I would have thought that I'd tripped in the toilet and gone to heaven.
Like, what movie did I just walk in on? Is this Apocalypse? I don't know.
No, that would have been insane. But like on that point, the Deadpool movies feel important, right? They feel like significant moments in the MCU's career journey. And I don't know about you guys, but coming into this, I was expecting a fix for the MCU. And I was expecting like this is where they will explain why this is gone. This is how they'll fix the multiverse stuff.
Yep.
And this is the movie to do it, right? Where you could literally just have him say, "Hey, this has been a real mess. Ha ha. Don't worry, I'm gonna fix this like I fixed your mum. Ha ha."
He literally says that, and then nothing happens though, right? Like,
yes, yeah.
I did love him saying like about we tried the multiverse stuff, it didn't work, and then the other guy, Nicewell, just being like, I think it's been steadily getting great since Endgame. It's like, that's good. I like it.
Yeah.
Nicewell was funny.
He was. He was funny when he dies. Yeah, he's got no regenerability. That's exactly right. So this, again, it knows it's like it knows he's Marvel Jesus. You know what Jesus did, Luke? He died for our sins, and he gave us a means to be better and to save us.
He changed the game.
He changed the game, and Deadpool doesn't do that. He actually doesn't fix or save anything here. He's not Jesus. He's
saying he's not Marvel Jesus?
I don't think he is. No, he's a false prophet, and they're bad. You look out for them. But
you know who is coming back from the dead, though, right?
Logan?
Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr. He's Marvel Jesus, I guess.
He is.
Like a little bit. This is the movie to do something, to fix something, to actually use the fourth wall breaking ability to be like, we don't have to make $6 trillion movies to explain this away. We don't have to give a movie explaining why Kang's gone. We don't have to give a movie explaining how this works. Literally just be like, hey guys, we're tearing this up, we're doing this way. And I think fans would like that. I think fans would be like, hell yeah. Like, I mean, I'll guess, or maybe they're not, but I'm like, I don't know, don't use a meta fourth wall breaking guy if you're not actually going to do anything with that.
Yeah, I agree. I totally expected him to, like, I don't know, lean on a control panel or something and delete all the multiverses or something like that. Like, get rid of it. It hasn't been working. Let's move on. I do wonder if they didn't know that it wasn't working well into the production of this movie, right? Like,
yeah,
I feel like Ant-Man Quantumania was like their last hurrah at trying to get the multiverse to work. It's the one that still had Kang, and it totally flopped, in my opinion anyway, as far as I'm aware. But that was a little while ago. I don't know. It's hard to know how long movies take to make.
Now
This was a year ago. It's crazy.
Yeah, this did suffer from like writer's strike stuff, and they delayed it a few times where, remember, it was going to come out, I think, even last year, and they kept pushing it back. So this has been done for a while, but I wanted to ask you guys, were you taken back at all by the Furiosa joke?
Oh man, that's what I wanted to say earlier. I'm like, we almost like, would you have been pumped if they had actually Furiosa there as a cameo?
No, I just couldn't figure out why. Like, I want to know how that works, because this movie,
current.
Furiosa, came out what, like a month ago, 2 months ago?
Yeah,
yeah.
They do this. Like, did they go back and be like, "This is the movie of the year. We've got to get an in-joke to this"? I'm so confused.
I mean, Furiosa also was delayed a bit, though, wasn't it? Like it.
Oh,
no, it was. I think it was larger than time, actually. But I mean, the aesthetic of Furiosa is not hard to predict, right?
Well, he gives like a whole little, he gives a little rambling speech, just like Chris Hemsworth in the movie.
Oh, does he? I can't even remember. Although they probably know. They probably talk to Chris Hemsworth. Hey, what are you saying in this movie? Because he does cry. He does cry in this movie. Remember? Why is Thor crying?
That was very funny.
That's funny.
Yeah, I guess I was just really like, it made me think about all the production behind it. Like, did they go back and do reshoots? Were they like, shit, we've got to get a Furiosa joke here?
Maybe. Seriously, they might have talked to Chris Hemsworth and been like, "Hey, what are you going to say in Furiosa?"
You're convincing me.
There was some other cameos too that were like so small. Did you know Matthew McConaughey was the cowboy Deadpool?
No.
Oh my god, that's great.
Ryan Reynolds' wife, Blake Lively, was Lady Pool, which was pretty obvious.
That's why my wife came to see this. She wanted to see her, and I was like, she never takes the mask off, which is.
And Nathan Fillion was one of the Deadpools as well. I'm not sure which one, but.
Oh, that's cool. That's nice.
It's nice. It is nice when there's cameos. What did you think of Cassandra Nova? I thought her power was very creepy. Like her grabbing people's heads with it. Ugh. Something about that was very unsettling.
What she did to the Human Torch, man, that was messed up.
Yeah, that's true too. He did ask for it though, specifically.
Yep.
He did.
Yeah, that's good.
I already want it.
I like Emma Corrin. She's pretty good. But again, same issue. They just kind of bring her in and they're like, here's why she's so dangerous. And there's a lot of telling you and a lot of like, here's my backstory. Here's why I'm deadly. You know.
I would have bet my life coming into this movie that they were going to like make a joke and call her like the Sorcerer Supreme, like Tilda Swinton. Because I thought her whole I thought she looked exactly like Tilda Swinton from the first Doctor Strange film. So I thought there was going to be a reference to that. But,
yeah, I'd completely forgotten about that.
Yeah. He even talks about Doctor Strange. Like, she could have been like, he came here, he thought I was somebody else. So I can't get no, but I killed him. That's
too meta for her, though, right? She's not making the meta jokes.
No, she doesn't know she's in a comedy. They need a villain, I guess. They actually don't need a villain in this movie. All these movies are like, they kind of can get away with not having it because they can just be
Mr.
comedies.
Paradox is the villain, right? Like,
yeah.
On what gams? What a bastard.
I like seeing Matthew McFadden do his traditional accent. Just like he's being British. But yeah, I don't know. All the villains, like, they are there to move the plot along. Her backstory about being abandoned in the void, it's like, could not give less of a shit because why would I? She is creepy. Like, Emma, she's a bit unsettling. Why is there a giant Ant-Man shell? Like, why is that here? Why is that abandoned in the void?
It's kind of it's a really cool aesthetic.
It is, but
that's
why
it.
is it there?
Well, why is any
Well-
superhero there?
Maybe because they're not going to go back to Giant Man again. They're not going to have
Like, that's what I'm wondering. Is that what it's... Because obviously the rest of the stuff is like the 20th Century Fox logo is there because they're like, this is
True,
abandoned. But like, why was a giant Ant-Man's body abandoned? Yeah, explain that one.
Well, because the third movie went to the quantum realm, so he did the big thing for the first two, and now it's been abandoned. I don't know. No, I don't think there's any reading into it, to be honest.
Well, there should be.
Should it have, instead of been a skull, should it have just been Paul Rudd? Like a big Paul Rudd face, but dead, like, you know. And so the joke would be that he still hasn't aged. He's been there, like, you know.
That would have been funny if literally his face just like crank it open.
Giant one of his face, yeah.
Yeah. The fight scene at the end was actually pretty good. Where they fight all the Deadpools. It's like the one take. Like that stood out. I thought it was really good.
I enjoyed all the action in this movie. Actually, like I liked seeing the three abandoned heroes fighting. I liked seeing. I enjoyed the fight at the start with Wolverine's skull. Even the fight in the car is pretty fun. Like,
didn't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the opening credits, like, because that song's a banger, like, obviously, and Sync fan here, but that song and just even the whole dance routine he's doing has been stuck in my head since the movie, and it's one of the main reasons I want to watch it again. I'm like, oh, that was a great open. That had a vibe to it. I like it.
All right, shall we rank them? We up to that? Are we ready?
Yes. 3, 2, 1.
They just get better in your mind.
Yes.
Oh wait, no.
Yeah, I think 3, 1, 2 is my opinion.
Probably 3, 2, 1. Even though like 3 I had the most fun with, but it's also, I want to say, the worst. Because it's barely a movie. It's not a movie.
But Deadpool's just meant to be fun.
I don't think any of the other movies are either, though, right? Like, even less so.
Nah, not less so. This one is like literally just cameos and exposition dressed in a trench coat, dressed in a Deadpool costume.
This one is Gambit.
It does. That's why actually I had more fun with this and I like it more.
Yeah.
But I'm like, yeah. So yeah, 3. I'll say 3, 2, 1.
And it has Blade, and there's never been any other Blade, and there never will be.
Is that insulting to Mahershala Ali? Is
Isn't
Ali
a
like
shot saying that movie's not going to happen because it's in development hell and it's just never going to come out?
I think it's a good joke because it works both ways, right? Like, if the movie comes out, then Wesley Snipes is wrong. If it doesn't come out, then oh shit, we lost a good one. Maybe
I made a joke about it.
Yeah,
Griner.
3, 1, 2 is my ranking. Is that what you're asking? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like 1 better than 2, but it's pretty close. I enjoy all these movies overall. I have fun with them. I don't know if I'll watch them again, though. Like, they are very much a moment in time. I'll probably see Deadpool and Wolverine again, though.
Yes. Wolverine.
I will see it. I'll see it just to take it apart and to further hate on it. Don't you worry.
Or maybe you'll turn around and you'll be a convert and you'll love it.
No, I'm going to do it for you guys. I'm going to be like, here's why this joke's not clever. Here's why this scene's silly. Here's why this whole conceit is dumb.
You'll see the car scene and you'll come out and you'll be like, I was wrong. I'm sorry, guys. We need to redo the podcast.
Yeah, it unlocked it for me.
It answered everything.
It really ties the movie together.
Yeah.
All right. Our next podcast is the Prometheus trilogy. So that's Prometheus, Alien Covenant, and Alien Romulus, which is coming out in a few weeks. I'm keen for it. I like anything Alien. I've seen all these movies so far. I haven't seen Romulus yet, but I think I like them better than most people.
Super fan over here, yeah.
Yeah, I am a little bit.
I haven't seen any of them, so I'm keen in for it as well.
We'll also have a special guest. Yeah, Keenan. He's planning to join us. I don't know how I feel about it because he went against me on the aliens subject, but
go listen to that podcast before you listen to our next one too.
This is a real Deadpool sort of moment. If you're invested in the lore of the good, the bad, and the worst, you will know.
You know Keenan well.
Keenan's a reference point.
Keenan lore is
yeah. Can we put a stinger in this episode for Keenan, like post credits?
Sure. If you organise it, I'll cut it in.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks for joining us for The Good, the Bad, and the Worst. This podcast is brought to you by a couple of books written by one C.V. Clarke.
They're just as miserable as I am. So,
The Taste of Iron and God Grotesque. Get them on Amazon. Check them out. They're really good. Please give us a rating on iTunes. Give us a rating on Spotify. It helps us out greatly. Tell your friends about us, and we'll catch you next time.